Daemon wasn't a tourney knight. He wasn't a man who won glory with blunted lances and cheering crowds. He was a battlefield fighter, forged in real war against real enemies who wanted him dead. His dragon, Caraxes the Bloodworm, was savage, cunning, and battle-tested long before the dance began. Caraxes was an extension of Daemon himself, fast, aggressive, and utterly lethal. He carried Dark Sister, the Valyrian steel sword of Queen Visenya, wielded in the conquest of an entire continent. Daemon carried it like it was made for him, because by the time the dance began, it was. But what truly separated Daemon from every other warrior of his era was this: he combined personal ferocity with strategic intelligence. Most men were one or the other. Daemon was both. When the Black Council met to plan the war, lords like Celtigar screamed to fly the dragons at King's Landing and burn it to ash. Daemon refused, and what he said revealed exactly how his mind worked. In the steppe zones, my enemies learned to run and hide when they saw Caraxes' wings, but they had no dragons of their own. It is no easy thing for a man to be a dragon slayer, but dragons can kill dragons, and have. He understood that their greatest weapon was also their greatest vulnerability. So while others wanted to charge blindly forward, Daemon said, "We fight this war with words before we go to battle." That kind of restraint from a man everyone expected to be nothing but a blade is what made him genuinely dangerous. The Dance of the Dragons is where Daemon's genius fully crystallizes. The Green Council's plan was simple: march Aemond One-Eye and Sir Criston Cole's 4,000-strong army toward Harrenhal and trap Daemon between two converging forces. If he flew out to fight, Vhagar, the greatest living dragon in the world, would destroy Caraxes. Daemon had anticipated all of it. He had friends in King's Landing. Word reached him before the armies even marched. When he was told of Aemon's plans, it is said that he laughed and said, "Past time." That is not the reaction of a man who is afraid. That is a man who has been waiting for his moment. Rather than sitting behind Harrenhal's walls, Daemon sent a murder of ravens. He activated his network across the Riverlands. He outmaneuvered an entire army with a quill and ink. The Lords of the Trident rose in response. On the Red Fork, the Lannister host was stopped cold. Lord Jason Lannister himself took a mortal wound trying to force the crossing, and Sir Criston Cole, the king's hand, was killed at what became known as the Butcher's Ball. Daemon didn't just survive the trap, he dismantled it without ever leaving his castle. Later, with King's Landing seized and Rhaenyra on the Iron Throne, Daemon flew north with the young dragon rider Nettles, hunting Aemond and Vhagar across the Riverlands. Because he understood one thing above all else: as long as Vhagar flew, the war was not over. He refused to divide their search. He refused to let Nettles fly alone. He knew exactly what Vhagar was, the last dragon to come to Westeros with Aegon the Conqueror, 181 years old, grown nearly as large as Balerion the Black Dread. Only together could they hope to withstand her. This wasn't caution. This was the most experienced dragon rider alive making a cold, clear assessment of the most dangerous creature in the world, and then choosing to hunt it anyway. Daemon drove the bloodworm up hard and fast into a bank of clouds and vanished. Vhagar, massive, ancient, ponderous with age, climbed in slow circles above the God's Eye. The sun was setting. The water below shimmered like beaten copper. Aemond searched the sky for his uncle. He never saw the attack coming. Caraxes dove out of the clouds like a thunderbolt, his shriek heard a dozen miles away, hidden by the blinding glare of the setting sun, aimed straight at Aemond's blind side. The bloodworm slammed into Vhagar with terrific force. The two dragons locked together, tearing at each other against a blood-red sky. Their flames burned so bright that fishermen on the lake thought the clouds themselves had caught fire. Vhagar raked Caraxes open. Vhagar's teeth ripped away a wing, and still Caraxes bit deeper, his black teeth grinding into the wound in Vhagar's neck, refusing to release, even as the lake rushed up to meet them both. And then, Daemon Targaryen did something no man had ever done. He swung his leg over his saddle aboard a dying dragon in freefall and leapt. He crossed the gap between the two dragons in open air. In his hand was Dark Sister. Aemond One-Eye looked up. He fumbled desperately at the chains at his saddle. Daemon ripped off his nephew's helmet and drove Dark Sister through his blind eye socket so hard that the point came out the back of his throat. Half a heartbeat later, the dragons struck the lake. The impact sent a column of water rising as high as King's Pyre Tower. Caraxes dragged himself onto the lakeshore, gutted, one wing gone, and died beneath the walls of Harrenhal. Vhagar sank to the bottom of the God's Eye. When her carcass was found years later, Aemon's armored bones were still chained to the saddle, Dark Sister still hilt deep through his eye socket. Daemon's body was never recovered. He was 49 years old. The singers claim he survived, that he found Nettles and lived out his days beside her. Fire and Blood calls these charming songs and poor history. But here is what history does say. He won.